girl. Hey. How you doing?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I am in the middle of so much traveling
Yeah.
right now, which is I'm just a little bit exhausted, but
Mm,
of course grateful. I am
yeah.
literally flying home, going to sleep in my bed, and then getting on a plane and flying out the next morning for it's like the next couple weeks here as we finish out
Yeah.
September. So September is such a busy month for me, and that always is just a different type of challenging because of the kids and the pickups and
Mhm.
the drop-offs, and so I'm not there for that, and that's hard. I don't know. How's your fall going so far?
It's good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I have my half marathon in a few weeks, so I feel like a lot of my energy is going towards training for that, but it's not just like physical energy. It just takes up so much mental
Yeah.
energy too. And so I'm feeling I'm feeling a little tired, but feeling good.
How much are you up to right now?
I'm up to 9 right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm planning to go to, like, 11, I think. So, we'll see. We're
Is
getting
it
there.
does it hurt your body like after you run 10 miles? Because I think the most I've ran is like 6.
Okay.
After you run like 9 miles,
Yeah.
does it hurt your joints and your knees at that point? Or no, you feel
No, it
fine?
hasn't been, but I'll
Okay.
notice, like, if I run and then say I, like, get in my car, go home, whatever, and then the next time I stand up, I'm like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Like, I feel it. So,
Yeah.
it's interesting, though, because I don't feel super sore afterwards. I just can kind of feel a little bit of, like, tiredness in my
Yeah.
body, but
Yeah.
it's usually okay by the next day.
That's my dream. I wanna run a
To
half
do a
marathon.
half?
Seriously, that's my
Oh my gosh, you
dream.
should do
I
it.
think I wanna do a full marathon. Yeah,
Really?
at some
Would
but
you
I mean,
start with a half and then do
yes,
a full?
absolutely. I'm gonna start
Okay.
with a half. I was just because my sister's been running, like, up she's up to, like, 10 miles a day, and
Wow.
she was
A
saying
day?
a day.
What?
Yes, I know. She is a wild person. She said it takes her
Oh
like
my
several hours
gosh.
to
Yeah,
complete every single day. But
right.
I'm a big runner, but for me more so and I was never distance in college or high school. But now it's like a stress thing for me.
Yeah.
I can't do I get up at 4:30 to go run cuz it's I the stress will build up traveling all that stuff will build up in
Yeah.
me if I'm
Yeah.
not my therapist said this once. Take this for anybody who if the shoe fits, please use it. But she was saying you have to think as of like emotions and stress as energy, and you literally have to do something with it, or else all of that is sitting inside of you, eating you up. So for
Yeah.
me, running and walking is one of the ways that I do something with it. Okay, what are we talking about today?
Today we're asking the question, can God use social media? And we're actually bringing on the CEO of the YouVersion Bible app to help us navigate this topic.
I'm so excited to have Bobby Gruenewald. YouVersion is such a just a massive force now in
Yeah.
culture. He's a great leader. And probably, honestly, could we have brought a better person to talk
I
to
don't
us
think
about
so.
like technology and faith? So
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. But first, do you got a group chat for us, Haley?
Oh, I have a group chat for
Do we
us.
ever? Do we ever have a group chat? Remember, if you want to send your submissions to the group chat, send it to Haley at whatifimwrongpod@gmail.com. You can send her a voice memo or a written submission. These submissions are where kind of it's just like the things that you would send to your girlfriends in the group chat to kind of process or laugh at or say, am I the one that's in the wrong on this together? So without further ado, let's enter the group chat.
Here's the group chat submission I got today. So, my younger brother just got engaged, and my mom is already planning the wedding like it's her own. The problem is, his fiance wants something small and simple, while my mom is talking about ballrooms, catering, and a 300-person guest list. My brother doesn't want to upset either of them, so he keeps telling both sides what they want to hear, which is
Mm.
obviously not going to work. Do I step in and try to play mediator, or do I stay out of it and let the explosion happen?
Oh, oh my goodness. Yeah, there's gonna be an explosion for sure. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This is a recipe for like a rom-com plus family drama meltdown, Jerry Springer. Honestly, your brother, he can't keep giving both people the answers that they want to hear because
Right.
eventually the wedding fairy tale is going to crash
Yeah.
into reality. You could step in as a mediator, but only if you can do it without becoming the villain in either storyline.
Right.
Also, only if you can do it for the rest of his marriage. Because this isn't going to stop here. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
maybe the most helpful thing you can do is, simply to remind your brother it's his job to set the tone with mom
Yeah.
on his wedding, not
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
Support the couple's vision, of course, encourage him to have, one-on-one honest conversations, and then cheer from the sidelines. Otherwise, you're going to end up planning a wedding you're not even a part of. You're not in. It's not your wedding.
Yeah, that is so true. I would say, like, you can help by encouraging your mom and his fiance maybe to just actually hear each other's vision for the wedding, but reminding them that ultimately it's about your brother and his fiance and not
Right.
anyone else. But I think framing it as helping everyone feel heard rather than taking sides can make a big difference. But being careful of how much you do step into that, because, like you said, she doesn't want to end up planning this whole wedding.
Yeah. But also, like, I just, I guess if the fiance was the one who had written in and was like,
Yeah,
hey, my boyfriend is not
true.
saying anything to his mom, girl, uh, you have a problem.
Yeah.
You have a problem coming up. Of course, the communication person in me is like, okay, what's the context? Is there like, because sometimes is there a cultural, maybe like implication that I'm not understanding? Because sometimes that is true. People from different cultures might view a mother-in-law position different
Yes.
than,
Yeah.
at least for us, you and I growing up in the United States. Maybe there is something I don't know. But that said, either way, this is going to be a marriage, and he's going to have to figure out,
Right.
how to support his wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So, if you want to send your situation to the group chat for our conversation next week, just send Haley a DM or email her at whatifimwrongpod@gmail.com. Thanks so much for entering the group chat with us. Okay, before we bring on Bobby Gruenewald and get to submissions, let's define the term. Remember, for this segment, I'm going to tell you a word and its actual definition. And I want you to ask yourself how knowing the actual definition may change how you see your relationship with that word. Today's term is integrity. Integrity is a word we kind of throw around a lot, but at its core, it simply means wholeness. I don't know if people realize that. Integrity means wholeness. The opposite of integrity isn't just dishonesty, it's fragmentation. It's when who you are, maybe in one room, doesn't match who you are in another room, or who you are in public doesn't match who you are in private. It is living with these different fragments of yourself. And to live with integrity is to be the same person no matter who's watching or when no one is watching. It
Yeah.
means your actions and your values line up. It means you keep your word even when no one would notice if you didn't. Integrity isn't glamorous, but it's what makes trust possible. And without trust, leadership, friendship, even faith communities fall apart. So maybe integrity is best defined this way: it's living in such a way that your words and your walk tell the same story. I remember a few years ago really praying. I think my word for, I think it was like 2019, my word for that year was wholeness. And that's when
Mm.
I discovered all this stuff about, oh, I'm actually praying for integrity. To pray
Yeah.
for wholeness is to pray for integrity and becoming a person of integrity. I can't tell you how much peace it
Mm.
has brought into my life. Do you want to live a life that feels whole as a whole person? Well, then I am telling you, integrity is a really good place to start.
Yeah. This really resonates with me. I remember wrestling with the same idea when I worked in kids ministry at a church and having to confront whether I was the same person who got up and taught the kids on Sunday morning as I
Mm,
was behind closed doors at home.
mm.
And it was a humbling process, but it taught me a lot about integrity, authenticity, and just the importance of living consistently, even when no one's watching.
Yeah, yeah. And like consistent, because it's like you don't have to tell everybody everything. Because I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, it's not that you're actually doing anything wrong. It's that some people are just not where you are, right? I don't
Yeah.
know how else to say it, like just super
Right.
judgmental or whatever. Like what one person does for some people, even listening to any music that's not Christian, right, would be
Yeah.
now you're bad or you're worldly. I mean, you have to
Right.
know who you are within yourself. And I think that's what I'm talking about, living with that wholeness where it's not necessarily that I'm going to tell everybody every single thing I do,
Yeah.
but I know who I am
Yes. Yeah.
and I can stand before God and God fully knows who I am.
Yeah, for
You know.
sure.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to bring on Bobby Gruenewald. Let's add him to our conversation. It is a big day on the pod today, Haley, is it not?
It is.
We are blessed to have Bobby Gruenewald. He is the CEO of YouVersion app, which, by the way, will hit a cumulative 1 billion. You heard that right, friends, with a B. 1 billion installs, which is just insanity. Bobby, we are so grateful that you are joining us today.
Hey, Heather, Haley, it's great to be with both of you. So thanks for having me on the show.
Okay, I got to ask, how are you feeling being the CEO of YouVersion? I mean, literally, this is probably the app, one of the only apps that doesn't matter where I mention it, everybody knows what it is and has probably seen it. I mean, what is that like to be a part of something that is just going so well, actually transforming people's lives?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know, humbling. That's probably the right word
Yeah.
for it. I mean, we had no idea what God was going to do with this. And the fact that it's actually accelerating right now is even the more exciting part to me because it's not just a story of something that happened 17 years ago, but it's actually something that we're seeing it grow and grow and grow. So we're blown away by it. We're privileged. We have an amazing team that God's put together. And so, and even though I take issue with one thing you said, which is that
Okay.
not everybody has it and not everybody knows about it. So we really feel like there are a lot more people that
Okay.
actually need God's word to be a part of their everyday life. So we've got a big mission and a big vision that's ahead of us.
And here's what something like this is really interesting to me because you are never going to even know the ramifications of your work until heaven. You are going to hear so many, you may think that you've heard so many stories right now, but there are so many stories that you will not hear until heaven, finding out how many people found God through this app that you guys are a part of. So it's just I can't say enough good things. I am so grateful that you are on the show. We're talking about like whether or not social media can be effective in ministry, right, Haley? That's the submissions we
Yeah.
got.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we're gonna let Bobby handle all those answers for critics that say, you know what, I don't think this thing can be an effective tool of the spirit. And I can just say in my own life how much it truly has. So
Mhm.
Haley, what did we
Yeah.
get? Did we get some good submissions? Were you happy with them when you saw them?
Yes, I was like, these are so perfect for this episode. So I'm
Yeah, yeah.
excited.
All right, go ahead. Hit us with number one.
Here's the first one. I started posting short prayers on TikTok during the pandemic just to encourage people. What surprised me is that strangers began messaging me, asking if I could pray with them or help them read the Bible. Some of those people I've never met in person, but we've built a real connection. It makes me wonder, do you think it's possible for real discipleship to happen through social media, or does it always have to be in person?
Bobby, has anybody ever said to you, it is not possible for real discipleship to happen through an app? What do you say to that kind of conversation?
Well, it's interesting. The person that made the submission just pretty much answered the question
Mm,
Yeah.
before they asked it, and so um, yes, of course, technology, social media, whichever platform, whatever form you want to take, it's a tool and it connects us together, gives us the opportunity to have these conversations like the one we're having right now.
yeah.
It's facilitated via technology. So I don't know that we have to be in the same room to be able to have discipleship take place. There's certain technologies that can be better than others at facilitating that, but it's a tool. And I mean, I don't know I don't get that question anymore. I'm sure there's people that still ask it, but honestly, I think people have seen over the last decade or 15 years that technology has been able to connect people together. And some people might argue that on a one-to-many version that it doesn't do discipleship well, meaning like just posting something on social media by itself, is that discipleship? But in her particular, or this I don't know if was it a her that asked the question? I'm not sure if it's a her or him
I
that
think
asked
it
the
was, yeah.
question. But
Yeah.
anyway, in this particular case, this is she's talking about one-on-one interactions that that it led to. And I think
Mhm.
certainly the ability, if someone had a phone call, a discipleship over the phone, I think people probably wouldn't argue with that. But it's just another technology. And in many ways, this is even more rich than a phone call, right? Because I can see your face and we can have a conversation and talk. So the short answer is yes. Like, I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
probably somewhat obvious.
What are the top plans that you're seeing people look for on YouVersion right now? Like, what are the top concerns that people are going to that app looking for a plan to help them walk through?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had, I would say, felt needs that are relational have always been probably the top category, the top area. So
Mm,
things that deal with relationships, with marriage, with just any kind of relational dynamic. We have had a lot of people search for things like anxiety.
mm,
So that's been something that's increased, in the last 3 or 4 years pretty significantly. Interestingly, this year, though, there are a lot of people that are just wanting to read through the Bible, which has not been the most popular thing in recent years. It's been a lot of topical, plans. But this year, we've had a big resurgence in that. I think
mm,
Tara Lee Cobble's plan is a very popular
mm.
plan on the Bible app. So the Bible recap that she does, and we're not just seeing people interested in it; we're seeing people complete it and actually go through it all, which is a bit of a newer trend. I mean, we started with just read through the Bible many years ago as the only plans that we had, and this year there's been a bit of resurgence on just people desiring to do that.
Yeah, I've done the Bible Project plans
Mhm.
on
Yeah,
YouVersion. And so one of the things whenever people say to me, like, man, what changed in your life? What is the thing that just most spiritual practice that has most transformed your life? And for me, reading the Bible has been one of the most impactful things. And I can't explain but it's the consistency of year by year, day by day, showing up and starting my day with God. Something, it wasn't in an instant. And I always want to press that for people because I think sometimes we're like, well, I've had students say, well, I've been doing this for 3 months and nothing's changed. Man, it's one of those things, hang in there day by day, by day, by day, by week. And then I'm telling you, you look back, one day you're going to look back, friend, and it's going to be 10 years from now
yeah.
and you're not going to even recognize yourself anymore. It is such an important practice. Okay, Haley, what was the second one?
All right. It says, I was having one of the hardest weeks of my life, and late one night I was scrolling Instagram just to numb out. Out of nowhere, a Bible verse popped up on my feed that spoke exactly to what I was going through.
Mm.
I don't even follow the account that posted it. It felt like God was meeting me right there through my phone. My question is, how do we tell the difference between a random post and a moment where God is
Mm.
actually trying to get our attention?
You have all the answers to that, Bobby, I'm sure.
I obviously can't answer that specifically, but I would just say that I think God oftentimes meets us in unexpected places,
Mm,
and we, um, when we have kind of ears to kind of hear His voice, and when we're trying to listen to Him, He speaks to us through a wide range of opportunities. We know that God speaks to us through nature. He speaks to us through
yeah.
people. And so certainly he can speak to us through a post that's on Instagram that maybe we weren't planning to see, but happened to see then. Um, so to say it's whether it's random or whether God intended it to be that way, he obviously knew that was going to happen, at
Yeah.
that point in time. And so I think most of the time the problem is we're not listening and looking for what God might want to share in the
Mm,
ordinary everyday circumstances.
mm,
And so there might be a lot of things that fly right by us that were opportunities to hear his voice. Um, But for me to be able to say that was not random or was random and all that's probably not fair. But I definitely think that's how I see it. And we see people respond that way over and over again with the Bible app. The verse of the day on the home screen and the guided scripture video that we do each day, that's a very, very popular feature, because people want to be able to open the Bible app and just say, I wonder if there's something God wants to show me today or
Mm,
speak to me through his word. And while there's all these people that are doing structured Bible plans and different plans on different topics, there's still a lot of people that like every day to start their day with just saying, I didn't pick the verse, I didn't choose it, but this is a verse in God's word. We went a bit further and just, instead of leaving it at a verse, like bringing in a devotional, off
yeah.
of that to kind of create a little bit more depth to the content. But it's been very, very popular in the sense that a lot of people are finding that helpful. And it would be very similar. I mean, you could say it's random. It's not completely random in that obviously we selected the verses and we, chose those verses thoughtfully and carefully. But I didn't know that that particular verse today was going to be the thing that spoke to someone in a
Yeah.
deep way, when our team picked it. So so you could say it's random, but I actually think that God uses those moments oftentimes if we have ears, to hear it and
Yeah.
we're really listening for what he wants to say to us.
Yeah, I just can't say enough. If somebody is trying to figure out, okay, where do I even start? You can start by just downloading the Bible app. Just start right
Yeah.
there. And to long for God is to
Yeah.
experience God. It always starts with that, okay, how do I even do this thing? God will meet you where you are. Haley,
Yeah.
do we have another one or
We do. This one's
okay.
a little bit different. It's not like a story type submission. It's just asking Bobby if you can share a story of someone whose life has changed through the Bible app or social media.
I love
Yeah.
a testimony.
we we are blessed because, we get to hear a lot of stories. I think we put out an invitation in the Bible app one time for people to tell us their story, and several, I mean, maybe a few hours later, we had 16,000 stories
Wow.
that came in, and it's been amazing to kind of watch. One that was more recent was a guy named Devin from Colorado, and he said that he had no hope and he was actually ready to take his life.
Hmm.
He wasn't a Christian, but he decided, and I'm not exactly sure why he decided, but he decided to download the Bible app. And
Hmm.
that's not the first time we've heard that. There have been numerous times that people have said they're at the moment of feeling like they had no hope, that they want to take their life. And I don't know if they're browsing the app store. I don't know if it's one of those seemingly random moments, where they happen to see an ad for the Bible app or something, that caused them to kind of pull in. But in this particular case, he downloaded the Bible app, and he said as it resonated with him, or as he read it, it resonated with him and started to change his perspective until he decided to actually put God at the center of his life. And so he said he wasn't a Christian. He went through and started reading the Bible up and did this. And then the phrase he said, he goes, I went from Googling ways to die to
Hmm.
having lasting joy and
Mm.
peace.
Wow.
And so there's just real power in God's word. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not the power of an app. That's the
Right.
power of God's word. And just the fact that we get to be conduits for people to experience, his word is like
Yeah.
a really humbling thing. So I think if people are wondering, are people impacted by it? It's a digital app, and how could that change somebody's life? It's not an app. I mean, that's not what it's about. It's completely about the power of God's word, and I think that's the thing to remember.
At what point, I always like asking people this because I find it interesting. Did you when you started this, did you realize what you were starting? Like did you have a very clear vision? I know exactly or
Mm.
did little by little by little by
Yeah.
little God lead you? What did that look like for you?
Well, I think, that's an easy answer. The answer is no. Had no idea.
Hmm.
It was just an idea that I had in the airport security line in Chicago, to
Huh.
help me read the Bible more consistently. And that turned into a website that failed, but led us to try it on a mobile device, which then Steve Jobs announced the App Store right around that same time, and we thought, man, we should try to build a Bible app. I'm not an engineer. I mean, my degree is in finance, I serve at a church. Um, but I have ideas and vision I bring to it. But I did not have the kind of faith that would be required to think that one day we'd be celebrating a milestone of 1 billion devices, not even close. So I just had enough faith to take the first step. And then what you just said is exactly what God's done. He's sort of taken us step by step, sometimes little leaps here and there. But once you've seen what God's done, you can't help but have a massive faith and vision for what could be possible for the future. But man, we definitely didn't start there. So our vision's very big today. And we have very big faith about what we believe God wants to do with it. But it started with a very, very small amount of faith, just enough to get started.
Yeah, I just want to say to the person listening, that is why we follow God. You aren't going to know where you're going.
Yes.
And because you don't have all the pieces doesn't mean that you're not called. Often God is, what did he always say to the disciples? Teacher, where are you going? Jesus said, come and see. And on this road of obedience, little by little, he will lead you. Hearing you say that just gives me goosebumps. Can you tell us has there been a study or a topic that you've done yourself on the app that was really transformative for you, where kind of just gave you more clarity or took you in a different direction, or you felt like, oh my goodness, God, you just used my own app to reach me?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It wasn't a particular Bible plan, but it was the parable of the talents back in 2021. What people didn't realize at the time was we were celebrating a milestone of 500,000,000 at that point, and that was about 13 years in. And it was a great milestone. Obviously, people were, celebrating with us, but I knew that we were actually flattening out in terms of growth. It was actually not growing at the rate that it had before. I was asking a lot of questions, just introspectively, about what needed to change in me, as a leader, what needed to change about what we're doing, because I really believe there's a lot more people that needed it.
Yeah.
And so I read the parable of the talents, which I'd read many times before, but that particular time that I read it, I remember thinking, what did the servant with 11 talents do next? Like, what was the next part? What would have been the next step of that story? Because, in the story, the person had 5 that became 10, but then he actually received the 1, right? From the wicked and lazy servant. The master gave the 1 so he had 11. And I felt like at that time that we were an 11 talent ministry, that God had, obviously, we've been blessed to be a part of it. We'd seen this huge growth. And I felt like we were, if we weren't careful, we were basically burying the talents after we had 11. We were essentially doing the same thing that the one that had 1 talent did at the end. So it just became this thing that began to propel us to take a lot more risk. And so in 2022, 2023, 2024, we set out to really grow aggressively. We're donor funded. And I basically put together a budget that we had no idea where the money was going to come from, but we needed to kind of accelerate and see if God, and just trust that God was going to bring those resources to it. So we were way too safe. And so we've seen growth just grow dramatically. Like, this milestone we're celebrating of 1 billion wasn't supposed to happen until 2027 at our best estimate. And then now it's happening in 2025. But in many ways, that reading of that parable of the talents again was one of the catalysts that God used in that time frame to just challenge me to say, look, we've got to take a risk, and we've got to take the same kind of risk that got us here is the same kind of risk that we need to take again. And it was profound. I mean, there's a lot of obviously other details and things that went into it, but that was one of those examples where I was guided by His word, and it really became something I spent a lot of time thinking about as a result.
This summer, I had a moment with the parable of the talents where I felt like the Lord said to me, I just kept saying to God, like, oh, I'll do this when I have 10 talents or when I have 20. And I never connected that I was being unfaithful, because I thought I was just waiting on God to open the next door. And I felt like God said, if my strength is made perfect in weakness, you can't resist weakness, because that's actually a platform for me to give you my strength. And so if you keep waiting for me to give you more, you won't be faithful with what you have. And so even just hearing you bring that up again it's a reminder to me. It makes me very emotional. So friend who is listening, don't wait. Like, what do you have in your hand right now? And how do you this is the prayer I pray every single day. Lord, help me not to miss what you have for me to do today.
Mhm.
Don't worry about next week or next month or next year.
Yeah.
What is God call? If God has a plan for your life, he has to have a plan for your day.
Yeah.
And so how are we meeting him every single, and part of that, as you know, taking us full circle, is spending time with the Lord every
Sure.
single day. This cannot be a weekly process, friends.
Mhm.
This has to be a daily process of submission and searching the word and letting God meet you and making stories that I'm sure Bobby has read 100 times before. All of a sudden, with ears to hear, I hear something I never heard before, and God is
Yeah.
speaking into my life in this new way. But before you go, can you tell us, you said we have big visions now
Yeah.
for the Bible app. Can you tell us a little bit about what,
Yeah.
or
Well,
if it's fair, you don't have to.
yeah, no, I don't think there's anything that's any big secrets or surprise, but we just think it's possible for way more people than we thought before to be able to access the Bible through the Bible app. We think by 2033, it'll be over 3 billion devices, where the first
Wow.
billion took 17 years, and the second billion will probably be more like 5 years. And
Wow.
so quite a bit faster. So that's part of it, but we're actually working really hard to make the app a much more personalized experience. So people that download our app, they're downloading the same app, whether they're in Nigeria, whether they're in the US, whether they're in Singapore. And when they open it, it's in their language. I just happen to pick 3 countries that speak English. I probably should have picked 3 different countries, but it's in their language. And what we want to be able to do is, because technology can help us do this, is we want to be able to kind of meet people where they are with the needs, the challenges, the stage of life that they're in, and make the experience customized to where they're at. There's nothing particularly profound about that, because we see that in technology everywhere, but doing it at the scale that we're talking about and globally and all the languages that we're talking about is not a small task. And so we've got kind of a lot of work ahead of us, and we've got a great team though. God's assembled like about 215 people that work full time on the
Wow.
Bible app, and thousands of volunteers that help with
Yeah.
us. But I actually love what you were saying earlier about your approach, so the day by day approach to how God
Yeah.
guides us. That has been my life story. It's like the question is just, God, where do you want me today? What do
Yeah.
you want me to do today? Sometimes that is a frightening experience for some people, because they want
Yes.
to have it all planned out, all mapped out.
Me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And that is
That's
what
not
God
how
has
God
used.
works.
No, it's not how he worked. And so
Yeah.
someone asked me, actually many times people have asked me, if I could go back and talk to the 20-year-old version of me, what would I say? Like, kind of what would my advice be? And I said, if I could go back and talk to the 20-year-old version of me, I would say absolutely nothing, because the 20-year-old version of me, if he knew where I was today and what God had done, he would have tried to skip the process. He would have
Oh my
tried to
goodness.
jump straight to the end. And it was the journey that God took me on that he used to give me the experiences I needed to do what he needed me to do next, or do what he needed me to
Yes.
do, years from then. And you can see it in reverse when you look backwards, but it's so hard in the moment to understand the journey sometimes and the steps that he's having you take, because we want kind of that instant
Yes.
understanding. Like, he had me do this and he did it today because I got to talk to this person today, and this was the result, of doing that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not quite that simple. In fact, most of the time it's not quite that simple. Only on occasion, is it? But it is our responsibility. It's like, God, where do you want me? Where do you want me today? Where do you
Yeah.
want me this minute? And if we can be attuned to that, it's amazing. Like we have nothing to be concerned about, because it'll
Yeah.
be just a step-by-step journey with him. So I love that.
I had this moment this summer where I realized Jesus only has about a 3.5-year ministry, and yet he enters towns in which he won't be able to do a miracle. If I had a 3.5-year
You wouldn't
ministry,
waste that time.
I would only hit the spots where they're going to applause and shout my name. Jesus is obedient to the work, even if it doesn't bring results. For him, obedience is the success, right? The kingdom, Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is like a farmer who scatters seed on rocks. I live in Texas. No farmers scatter seed on rocks. right? For Jesus, the obedience, regardless of the outcome, the obedience is the work. And so a lot of times I am so worried about failure that I won't do what he has called me to do. And friends, I just want to tell you, the obedience is the work. It's not even about a big success story.
Mhm.
It's about just being faithful to what he has called you to do, faithful with what's in your hands. Bobby did not know when he started this where God was telling him was going to take him. And I'm so encouraged even here that if you could go back, you wouldn't even tell yourself.
Right. Yeah, it was the step-by-step journey that God used to do what he's done. And it's going to be what he uses in the future too, because I'm not done.
Yes.
And so it's just
Amen.
a journey day by day.
Bobby Gruenewald is the CEO of YouVersion app, the Bible app, and it's going to hit a cumulative 1 billion installs. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's been fun.
I want to close every episode with a segment I call Day in the Bible. And this is where I share something I have learned in Bible study with you that will beg the question, what if I'm wrong about how I have been reading or thinking or explaining this Bible passage? One of my favorite stories about vision comes from Genesis 12 in the story of Abraham. So in Genesis 12, God tells Abraham, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. And we did a episode, I don't even know how long ago, but about this very concept, about how scary this would have been in the world that Abraham lives in, where it's not just, your land is not just like the place you live, it's also connected to the God that you worship. Of course, like your family is your tribe. There's no police force. There's no social service agency. All of this is wrapped up. And when God tells Abraham to go alone, this is a big deal. But notice what God doesn't give him when he says to go. He doesn't give him a map. And he doesn't give him a timeline of when he's going to give him children. And he doesn't guarantee that everything will be easy. He just gives him a vision. And the first step, go. And this reminded me of the conversation we had with Bobby today, because that's how God often works with us. He plants a dream in your heart, gives you this like glimpse of just, it's not even that this is going to be amazing. It's just that that this is valuable. That's it, right? This glimpse of there's something here. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it leads. He doesn't hand you the entire blueprint. And why does God not do that? Because trust doesn't grow when you already know the ending. It grows when you have to figure out how to walk forward toward what God is calling you into without knowing even fully where that is. Whew. It is step by step by step by step. When we wait until we've figured everything out, we will usually end up waiting our entire lives. But when we move on that first step, I call it this, I always say, move on maybe. Maybe this will work. Maybe it won't. Move anyway, because the rest is going to unfold as we go. Abraham did not have all the details, but he trusted the one who did. So maybe the question isn't, do I have the whole plan, but am I willing to start walking with God, even if I don't? Hebrews 11:8 reads, by faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. Friend, what is God calling you into today? What is that first step? Go by faith. That's it for today's episode. Join us next week, friends, as we continue in these riveting conversations.
Next week, we are sitting down with Josh Clemens, the executive director of One Race Movement, and talking about racial reconciliation. You can send me your submissions if you want us to discuss whatever experience you are questioning on the podcast. Email me at whatifimwrongpod@gmail.com.
I cannot wait for you guys to meet Josh Clemens. I'm Heather Thompson Day, and I'll see you next week.